Good evening everyone. Am I audible to everyone? Okay, is there any problem in audio or video? So Vikas, is there any problem in audio or video? No. Okay, fine. Okay, so before this lecture, I think most of your lectures were on this Zoom app, right? Am I correct? Good evening Adarsh. So many people from the foundation batch has also joined this crash course. Welcome all of you and good evening everyone. Okay, so most of the lectures before this were on this Zoom app. So this is the first, I think this is the first in this crash course which is going to be on this Apex application. So if you have any doubt in between or in the end, you can directly comment in front of me. I have this screen, I can able to see your comment instantly. So I will answer to your questions in the end or in between, whichever necessary. So am I clear, Shreyesh? Okay, so we will just wait for few more seconds or minutes so that others can join. Okay, good evening everyone. So this is your first lecture of this history crash course. So I am Dr. Vishwjeet Kawar. Welcome to PMF IAS, and I am the one who is responsible for covering your entire history portion right from this ancient to modern. See, it is impossible to cover this entire history portion within this 10 to 12 lectures. So for that we have already covered this entire history comprehensive way in our foundation batch. So this is going to be the crash course, and what is my approach which will definitely help you in cracking the exam or at least in attempting the history questions in the final exam or prelims. So in this lecture I will going to explain you first approach. First we will discuss about why you need to study this history for specifically this prelims. So our entire course is restricted for this 2026 prelims. So first we will discuss why you need to understand this history or why you need to learn this history for your prelims. So if you consider prelims weightage of history in the prelims in last 10 years, averagely I am talking about when I am saying you history, history means history part plus related part of art and culture. Remember, I am telling you this history plus related part of art and culture and not purely art and culture. Like there were few questions from art and culture in the last year, like 5 questions. Out of these 5 questions, 4 were directly related or common to this history. Like this bronze statue of dancing girl found in this Mohenjo-daro. So they have asked about this bronze, means it is made up of stone, bronze, etc. So most of the questions in the art and culture are definitely going to come from this history portion only. So we are taking this history part as well as related part of art and culture and not clearly art and culture. So last year there were 5 questions from this art and culture and 4 were directly related to history. One was different. They have asked for this headquarter of one of these first Vidyalay in India, Gandharva Vidyalaya or some other Vidyalay which has this headquarter in this India. So they have asked for this specific headquarter. So in this lecture, first we are going to discuss why you should not miss this history portion and why you should not skip this history portion. If you consider this last 10 years of questions average, so in last year there were 14 questions combining with art and culture. There were 15 questions. So here I am taking only history plus related part of art and culture. There were 14 questions in 2024 there were 11 questions. So if you take this average on an average there are 13 to 14 questions. There are 13 to 14 questions which are directly from this history plus related part of art and culture. I will tell you what is the advantage of getting more and more questions from history, the certainty. So if you are getting this 13 to 14 questions from this history, your chances of getting minimum 11 questions right are high. So in other subject, if you compare with this any other subject which is not static, so if you consider this history, then polity, then geography, so these are the core static subject, and your even though polity is not that static, but still the questions are related to the static part, and where the questions are from the static part, your chances of getting the right question is very high. So if they are asking this 13 to 14 questions from history portion, your chances of getting this 11 questions right is high. So you are getting this 22 marks only from this history. So you are getting this 22 marks only from this history, and if you consider the cutoff, of last few years starting from this 2021, so 2021 to 2025, so last year cutoff was for open candidate it was 92.6, so approximately 92, and till this 2024 from 2021, so only in this 2023 the cutoff was 75 approximately. So other than this 75, average cutoff was in and around 88. So your cutoff, average cutoff in the last 4 year or 5 year was 88, and history alone giving you this 22 marks, means you are getting this 1/4 mark directly from history. See, number of questions from the history are more. These are not restricted to the 11. We are saying if 14, 15 or 13 questions are coming from this history, you are getting only 11 right. Even in that case, even if you are getting this 11 questions right, in that case you are getting this 1/4 marks required to clear this prelims. That's why history is important subject for you. In order to clear this prelims, you need this thorough understanding of history, and nowadays there are more weightage for this ancient plus early medieval, ancient and early medieval, as compared to this basic medieval part like Delhi Sultanate, Mughal Empire. As compared to that, they are focusing on this early medieval, as well as compared to the modern, there were more questions from this ancient. So that's why first of all you need to understand what you need to study to get this 11 questions right, and this is what we are going to do precisely in this lecture. So am I clear to everyone? Good evening, Aman. So am I clear? So in today's lecture, first half of lecture, our main objective is to analyze this PYQs. See, exam is completely unpredictable. I agree, even you agree with me. Exam is completely unpredictable. They can ask the questions from any chapter or any topic. There is no limit. If you see the syllabus of UPSC, they have given in this single line, that is history of India. So from this syllabus, you cannot judge which topic is important because they have not given this thorough syllabus. But what you can do is you can analyze the PYQs, previous year questions. So previous year questions are guiding star for you. So these previous year questions can guide you to focus on which part of this history to get this maximum mark. So you remember these PYQs are north star or PYQs are guiding star. So the objective of first half of this lecture is to understand which topics from this history are important. And before we start this modern history, so we have 10 to 12 lectures dedicated for this history in this crash course, and we are investing our next 6 to 7 lectures completely on this ancient and early medieval, and we will utilize this remaining 4 to 5 lectures for modern history. So there are more number of questions from this ancient as well as early medieval, and as compared to this modern is most of the time easy for most of the students, but ancient and early medieval is difficult for you. So we are giving 6 to 7 lectures for this ancient and early medieval, and in today's lecture we are going to analyze the questions from this ancient and early medieval. So before we go directly to this PYQs, let's first focus on the syllabus, means what are the topics we generally read or study throughout this year. So if you consider this ancient and medieval part, so what are the topics you generally study? First we will look for that. See, first we will discuss about this syllabus. So whenever we start this history, first chapter, forget about this introduction and sources and all, first chapter in the history we focus on this Stone Age. So first Stone Age, right? So when people started using this stone, that time Stone Age started and it continued till people started using this metal. So when the people started, or when people were using these stone tools, we call this period as a Stone Age. So after the Stone Age, people started using the metal. Tell me the first metal used by this human. Tell me the name of this first metal used by human. Who is saying bronze? See, bronze was this alloy of copper and tin. So basically before that, yes, human have used this copper. So once people started using this copper, but remember, when first time they started using this copper was not that abundant. So there was scarcity of copper was in this limited amount. So along with the copper, they also used this stone, and the culture developed, or this period, time period, or this age called as Chalcolithic. So first, whenever we study the history, we start with the Stone Age, then we continue with this Chalcolithic period or Chalcolithic culture, Chalcolithic age. So when people were using this copper in most part of this India, in northwest part of Indian subcontinent, people started using this bronze, and we call this as a Bronze Age or Indus Valley Civilization. Bronze Age or Indus Valley Civilization. So we definitely start our history from Stone Age, then Copper Age, then Bronze Age or Indus Valley Civilization from 2600 to 1900 BC in the northwest part of Indian subcontinent. Then we study about this Vedic period from 1500 to 600 BC, 1500 to 600 BC, and after the Vedic period we have this period of Mahajanpadas. We have this period of Mahajanpadas. So what are these Mahajanpadas? Mahajanpadas means large kingdom. So there were 16 large kingdoms developed in the north part of India around this 6th century BC. So after this Vedic period, we study about this Mahajanpadas. So there were 16 Mahajanpadas mentioned in this Buddhist and Jain text. Remember, there can be more than 16 Mahajanpadas, but 16 Mahajanpadas were precisely mentioned in this Buddhist and Jain text. So when we discuss about this Mahajanpadas, we will discuss about this Buddhism as well as Jainism. Buddhism and Jainism, because the Buddhism and Jainism, this new religious ideas and new religion were developed around this 6th century BC, and among these 16 Mahajanpadas, finally Magad became powerful under this Maurya, and the next chapter was Mauryan Empire. Mauryan Empire. So this Mauryan Empire has covered almost all part of Indian subcontinent except deep south and northeast part of Assam. So whenever these things happen, like single king or any dynasty was controlling this major part of India, after this decline of this, so whenever this central power became too much powerful, controlling most part of India, so after their decline, in different part of India, different kings will emerge. Single independent kings will emerge. So this is common from ancient time to modern time. If you see in the medieval period, Mughals were strong, but after the decline of Mughal, there were regional states, new states, independent states and successor states. So similar in the ancient time, after the decline of Mauryan Empire, we generally see the Central Asian contact in the northwest, Central Asian contacts in the northwest. In this Central Asian contacts, so who came first? Indo-Greeks, then Shakas, then Parthians, and then Kushanas. So all this was happening in the northwest part of India, like Central Asian came to this northwest part of India. Similarly, in the north part of India, who were these regional states? In the north part of India during this time, in the post-Mauryan period, in the north part of India, there were Shungas, and if you consider this part of Deccan or Maharashtra and this part of Madhya Pradesh, there were Satavahanas, and these Satavahanas were replaced by these Vakatakas. So this is our general study, or these are our chapters we generally used to learn in this throughout year. So first Stone Age, then Chalcolithic Age, then Bronze Age. After this Bronze Age, Vedic period from 1500 to 600 BC. After this Vedic period, we have this historical phase, that is 6th century BC. There were many changes took place in the 6th century BC, and this is one of this important, that is formation of the 16 Mahajanpadas. With emergence of this Mahajanpadas, there were new religious ideas also emerged, and which are these important for our exam? Buddhism and Jainism. Then we have this Mauryan Empire, and after this decline of Mauryan Empire, in the northwest we have this Indo-Greeks, Shakas, Parthians and Kushanas. At the same time, in this North India and Deccan part, we have this regional states, Shungas, then Satavahanas and Vakatakas, and in the deep south, we have this Chola, Chera and Pandya, early South Indian kingdom. Chola, Chera and Pandya, and finally these small states in the north part of India was replaced by Gupta. So we generally discuss this, the Gupta Empire, and these Guptas were replaced by Harshavardhana from Pushyabhuti dynasty. So we generally discuss about this Harsha period. So all these are the chapters included in our ancient history. So we generally focused on these chapters while discussing about this ancient history, and after this Harsha period we have this medieval. So in the first instance we have this early medieval period, and in this early medieval period we have some North Indian kingdoms immediately after this Harsha, and then South Indian kingdom. So in the North India we have this Maukharis, Maitreyas, then we have Gurjara Pratyaharas, Palas, then Rashtrakutas. Then who were the kingdoms in the South India? Chalukyas, Rashtrakutas, Pallavas, Pandyas, Cholas. So all these were South Indian kingdom. Remember, in the UPSC, most important part from this medieval part is this early medieval period. North Indian kingdom and South Indian kingdom, their kings, their dynasty, their chronology, the scholars at that time, and their literary work. And after discussing about this early medieval period, we discuss about this medieval period, which consists of Delhi Sultanate, then Vijayanagar Empire, and then Mughal Empire, and after that we discuss about this Marathas. So this is our syllabus we generally used to learn or teach or study in this throughout entire year. So am I clear to everyone? See, we are not going to discuss all these chapters. I am just saying you this is the syllabus we generally used to study throughout this year. So this is basic syllabus. Why we discuss about this syllabus? Because now you know what is this exact syllabus of UPSC now or any competitive exam with respect to this ancient India and medieval period. Now we are going to analyze this PYQs. So now based on the PYQs you can eliminate few topics like which are not important for you. If I give you the example, we will discuss once again this syllabus to understand which topic is important, and within this topic or within this chapter which subtopic is important, what to learn, what to study from the specific topic. Like if I give this example, so Stone Age, there has never been any question from the Stone Age in last 10 years. Next, Chalcolithic Age, there were only one or two questions from this Chalcolithic period that were specific to the sites. Like last time they have asked about this Ganeshwar, which was pre-Harappan Chalcolithic site, so copper found there. So if you understand, if you analyze these PYQs, then you will definitely understand what are the chapters we have to study to clear this exam. So now we are focusing on this analyzing PYQ. See, you all may be present in this WhatsApp group. We have this dedicated WhatsApp group, and also after the end of this session, after this lecture, I will upload this in the content section in our app. So basically I have already provided you two PYQs file. One is year wise PYQs and second is chapter wise PYQ. So why these two different PDF or files are important for you? Why this year wise PYQs are important? If you understand this year wise PYQs, if you see and analyze this year wise PYQ, you will get the understanding which topics are important in the current. Means currently UPSC is asking from which chapters or which topics or which subtopics. So you will get this trend, you will understand this trend, and you will exactly know to focus on which topic. So it is based on this year wise PYQs. And second is this chapter wise. So why I have given this chapter wise PYQ? So suppose you know that this Indus Valley civilization is important for your UPSC. So I have also given this PYQs based on this chapter. So if you directly go to this Indus Valley civilization, you will understand that based on the question asked, you will understand what to learn, what to study and what not to study. If you carefully analyze last 10 years of questions specifically from this Indus Valley civilization or Bronze Age, then what they have asked, first of all, you need to understand or you need to remember all these IVC site, Indus Valley civilization site. Second important, general basic understanding of this Indus Valley civilization and its difference with this Vedic culture. So what are the things present during the time of this Indus Valley civilization? What are the things which were absent during this time of Indus Valley civilization? Third and most important thing is some specific site and key important facts. Like Banavali is important for you, then Dholavira is important for you. Why Dholavira is important for you? What is specific about this Dholavira? So there was this water harvesting system present in this Dholavira. So basically you need to generally understand this Indus Valley civilization, general understanding, not in too much detail. Second, you have to understand or you have to remember this IVC site, and third important thing is some important fact related to some of these sites. So you will going to understand only if you have these two files. First of all, this year wise PYQs will give you the trend, understand which topics are important for your exam, and within topic which subtopics are important, what is important from that particular chapter, you are going to understand only if you have this chapter wise PYQs. So am I clear to you everyone? Yeah, Suresh, I am going to upload this in the app also immediately after this lecture. So now we are going to analyze these PYQs. See, this is 2025 question paper. So the first question was the famous female figurine known as dancing girl found at Mohenjo-daro is made up of. Means first question was generic question, we already know this bronze statue of dancing girl which was found at this Mohenjo-daro. So the question was specifically from this Indus Valley civilization. So you need to understand which are these topics where UPSC is focusing on. So first is this Indus Valley civilization, then next the irrigation device called Aragata. So the same question was asked few years back, the same question, exactly same. So the same PYQ are repeated, but if you understand the theme of this, so what was this topic from where the UPSC has asked the question? So we have already discussed after this Harsha period, we have this early medieval period. In the early medieval period, we have this North Indian kingdom and South Indian kingdom. Remember, both North Indian as well as South Indian kingdom, specifically this South Indian kingdom is extremely important for your exam, and this question was directly from this South Indian kingdom. Next, who among the following ruler in ancient India had assumed the title Mattavilas, Vichitrachitta and Gunbhar? Remember, this is also the same question from this South Indian kingdom. So in the South Indian kingdom, we have this Pallavas, Pandyas, Cholas, Chalukyas. So this is the question from this Mahendravarman. So we already know Mahendravarman was known as this title. Now tell me the title of Narsimhavarman. Anyone? The famous title assumed by this Narsimhavarman? Tanushri is saying Vatapikonda. Other than Vatapikonda, anyone? Yes, Mamalla. Mamalla means wrestler, and this present name of this town or city Mamallapuram is based on this, or Mamallapuram or Mahabalipuram is based on this king, that is Narsimhavarman. So this question was also from this South Indian kingdom. Remember, this South Indian kingdom, there were many questions in the recent year. Next, this Fayan, the Chinese pilgrim Fayan traveled in India during the reign of. So during this reign of Chandragupta II, everyone knows about this. So now if they have asked the question specifically related to this Chinese pilgrim Fayan, now other two travelers which came to India during this period, like Huansang and Itsing, both are important for your exam. So specifically this question was related to Gupta Empire, because this Fayan came to India during this Gupta period, or you can divide in this Chinese pilgrim. Next, who among the following led successful military campaign against the kingdom of Srivijay, the powerful maritime state which was ruled the Malay Peninsula, Sumatra? Means who among the following ruler have invaded this Southeast Asia? Everyone knows the answer. What is this answer? Rajendra I from Chola. So two most important ruler from this period was Rajaraja I and then Rajendra I. Their temples are also useful. And why they have asked this question last year? Because this 2025 was completion of this 1000 years for this event. So this Rajaraja I, he has invaded in the Southeast Asia in 1025. So this event was completion of this 1000 years. That's why they have asked this question. And once again, remember, the question was again from this South Indian kingdom. Question was from this South Indian kingdom. Next, with reference to this ancient India, consider the following pairs. See, these type of questions were quite common before this 2025. So in 2025 there was only one question from such type of question, like site or location, then its archaeological importance, whether it was Stone Age site, Chalcolithic site, IBC site, or it was port or Buddhist site or Jaina site, and then state. So these questions were quite common before this 2025. So on that line there was one question this from 2025, and it was related to this Mahajanpadas. So when we are discussing about this Mahajanpadas, what is important in the Mahajanpadas? Name of the 16 Mahajanpadas, then their capitals, their location, their state, and then river associated with this Mahajanpadas. Now tell me the one Mahajanpada which was present below this Narmada river. So below this Narmada river in the south, we have only one Mahajanpada. Tell me the name of this Mahajanpad. Fatima is saying Avanti. Avanti is in the Madhya Pradesh, right? Avanti in the Madhya Pradesh and north to this Narmada river. I am asking about this south to this Narmada river. Yes, Ashmak or Asmaka. So this was in this south of Narmada river. So remember, we will when we were discussing about this Mahajanpadas, we will discuss about these 16 Mahajanpadas, name of these 16 Mahajanpadas, their capital, northmost, southmost, easternmost and then westernmost Mahajanpadas, then their state along with the river, along with this river. Next, Ashokan inscriptions suggest that Pradesika, Rajuka and Yuktas were important officers. So remember, whenever there was question from this Mauryan Empire, so Mauryan Empire is important. Mauryan Empire is important theme for UPSC, and within this Mauryan Empire, they specifically asked about this Mauryan administration or Ashoka or King Ashok, Ashok the Great. If they are asking the questions from this Ashoka, they are specifically focusing on three things. First is his Dhamma. What is this Ashoka's Dhammas? Then his rock edicts. We are going to discuss about this major as well as minor rock edict, but specific their major rock edicts are important for your exam. And third is architecture. So when UPSC is asking the question from this Mauryan Empire, they are specifically focusing on either Mauryan administration or Ashoka. In the Ashoka, they are focusing on this Dhamma, major rock edict or this architecture. Next, these are the questions from this modern Indian history. So if you consider this 2025 paper, 2025 paper did not follow this trend of UPSC. So earlier the UPSC was asking questions more on this Buddhism, more on this Buddhist scholar, their literature, Jain scholar, their literature, then these sites, their location, their state, archaeological importance, all these types of question, particularly some of these grammarian or the scholars, their literature work, UPSC was focusing on that. And remember, though the trend was not followed in this 2025, 2025's history paper was most easy if you compare with this last 5 years. So that's why even the UPSC was not following the trend. It's not a problem at all for us. Why we are checking this trend? So that we should not miss anything. So our objective is based on the PYQs, we should not left or we should not miss any other part. But apart from this PYQs, those chapters which are important, we are going to take this chapter. So this was this 2025 question paper. So everyone, are you getting the understanding? Understanding, see, we are not discussing about this specific question and their answer. We are just checking from where UPSC is asking the question. So now this is 2024 question paper. With reference to ancient India, Gautam Buddha was generally known by which of the following epithets? So yes, current affair is also associated with this history, but not that much. So if you consider this, why they have asked about this question of this Chola expedition or the expedition of this Rajendra first, because they have this event has completed this 1000 year, but it does not matter. Everybody knows this fact. So most of the facts in the history are directly from the static. So in 2021 they have asked about this Dholavira. Why they have asked about this Dholavira? Because it got this recognition, it became this World Heritage Site, it was added in this World Heritage Site list. But everybody knows Dholavira was famous for this harvesting, water conservation. So even if you connect with this current affairs part, the main portion of this history was this static. So you can definitely connect with this current affairs and you can guess from where they can focus on. But in general, most of the time questions were directly from this static. So if you consider this year this Kiladi excavation has created so much buzz. Like we generally consider that the second urbanization in north part of India happened around the 6th century BC, and we generally consider that the urbanization in South India was late after the 6th century BC, probably from this 4th or 3rd century BC. But this Kiladi excavation report has exposed this fact. So according to this latest Kiladi excavation report, it has also showed that urbanization was existing parallelly with this North India even before the 6th century BC, around the 700 or maybe 800 BC. But remember, this report is not, means till date this report is not accepted by this Archaeological Survey of India. So we don't have to go into this controversy, we don't have to go into this Kiladi excavation. But in general the questions are mostly static. But as this Kiladi excavation was in the news, we will definitely discuss about this urbanization in this history. Now tell me, which is this current urbanization? Whether it is first urbanization in India, second urbanization, third urbanization, fourth urbanization, current urbanization. Anyone? Aman, Tanushri, Vikas? Who is saying 2020? I am asking about whether this is first urbanization, second urbanization, third urbanization. So remember, the first urbanization in India happened during this Indus Valley civilization or Harappan civilization from 2600 to 1900. But again after this 1900 we have this rural culture, or we have this rural part, or not this urbanization. The second urbanization occur around this 6th century BC during this period of Mahajanpadas, and this second urbanization continued till today. So first urbanization was during this Indus Valley civilization, but after this Indus Valley civilization we again have this rural society. There was no surplus food grain production. Once again the surplus food production came around the 6th century BC, and from this 6th century BC we have this second urbanization, and currently we are in this second urbanization only. This is this second urbanization. So now we are going to discuss about this 2024 paper. So if you see the first question was directly related to this Buddhism. So before this 2024, if you see, they have asked many questions related to this Buddhism, basic part of this Buddhism, basic part of this Buddhist philosophy, or question directly related to this Gautam Buddha, or question related to this Buddhist scholar and their literature. So they are focusing on this Buddhism as well as Jainism. So these topics are important for you. So they have asked about this epithets used for this Gautam Buddha. Everybody knows this Nayaputta or Nagputta used for this Vardhaman Mahavir. So correct answer was this 2 and 3. Next, consider the following information: archaeological site, state and description. I already told you these questions were quite common. So they have given this site, and what they have asked, they have given this site plus archaeological importance and then state where it is present. So if you see, they have given this Inamgaon from this Maharashtra, and it was Chalcolithic site. Inamgaon was Chalcolithic site. So these types of questions are also important. That's why even though this Stone Age and Chalcolithic is not that important, we are focusing on that site. Site from the Stone Age means Paleolithic, Mesolithic and Neolithic site, and then site from this Chalcolithic site. So these first two chapters are not that important for our UPSC prelim, but we are not skipping that part. Why we are not skipping that part? Because if the UPSC asks this question, there is chances that they might ask this Chalcolithic site or Stone Age site. So this is the directly question from this site, archaeological importance and then state. Next, this question was directly from this basic part of Vijayanagar Empire. So Vijayanagar Empire is also extremely important for our exam. There were many questions from this Vijayanagar Empire. Then consider the following statement: there are no parables in the Upanishad, and second, Upanishads were composed earlier than Puranas. So if you consider, these questions are directly from this Vedic period. So if you analyze, we are going to see other questions from this Vedic period also. What you need to understand from this Vedic period is general understanding, whether there was rural society or urban society, where there was existence or this, whether people were acquainted with horses, whether they acquainted with the spoke wheels, whether they acquainted with this iron or not. In general, difference between this early Vedic period and later Vedic period, as well as difference between Vedic period and Indus Valley civilization. So general understanding of this period, plus focusing on Vedic texts, Rig Ved, Yajurved, Samved, Atharved, as well as this Upanishad, focusing on this Vedic text, plus 6 schools. So there were 6 Vedic schools, right? Orthodox philosophy. So these 6 schools are also important for your exam. There has already a question from this 6 school. There was already a question from this basic understanding of this Vedic period, as well as question from this Vedic text. So remember, from this Vedic period, what is important? Just general understanding plus Vedic text and this 6 school, orthodox school or orthodox philosophy. Then, so see, this is the question from this UNESCO's list. So whatever the UNESCO's lists are present, if you consider this World Heritage Site, then intangible cultural heritage, then other, which are these other sites? Creative Cities Network. All these list from this UNESCO's are important for your exam. Remember, all the questions in the last few years, at least there was one question from this UNESCO, except in this 2025 there was at least one question from this UNESCO. Latest addition, if you consider 2021, there was this Dholavira, then they have also asked about this intangible cultural heritage like Garba and all these things. So all these things are important for you. So remember, this UNESCO related topics are also important. Then which of the following work is attributed to playwright Bhasha? So this is typical question from last few years, that is important scholar and their work, means important scholar, author and their literature. Next, this is question again, once again the question from this Buddhism, Buddhist scholar and their work. So they have asked about, consider the following properties included in the World Heritage list released by this UNESCO. So they have specifically asked about this, what was included in this World Heritage Site list in this 2023. So remember, this UNESCO is always important, particularly World Heritage Site, then intangible cultural heritage. But other 2 lists like memory of this Creative Cities Network and this another one important list, all 4 lists related to this UNESCO are important for your exam. So once our this crash course is over, I will give this list: World Heritage Site, Intangible Cultural Heritage, as well as Creative Cities Network. Next, all these remaining questions were from this modern Indian history. So if you consider 2024 question, there were questions from this UNESCO, 2 questions from this UNESCO's list, then there were questions from this Buddhism, there were questions from this traveler, right? There were questions from these sites, their location and archaeological importance. So these questions were quite common before this 2024. So everyone, are you getting this clarity? Are you getting this clarity which topic is important for you, and within that topic what is important for your exam? Next, this is 2023 question paper. Remember, in the 2023 the cutoff was 75 and there was only one subject from where the questions are relatively easy, and that was this history. So first they have specifically focused on this Buddhism, and within this Buddhism they have focused on this site and their location. Site and their location is always favorite question for UPSC. So they have asked for this Dhanyakatak, means Amravati, near place near this Amravati, town near this Amravati, that is present in this Andhra. Next, they have once again question asked from this Buddhism. So whether the stupa was Buddhist in origin or pre-Buddhist in origin, what was its significance, they have focused on this Buddhism. Third question was related to the sport. So I already told you these sports, Stone Age site, Chalcolithic site, IVC site, Buddhist site, Jain sites, all these are important. So this sport is also one of this favorite topic for UPSC, and they have asked about this Korkai, Pumpuhar, Musiri. So if you know about this Sangam age, if you know about this South Indian kingdom and their capital, you can definitely attend this question easily. So they have asked the question from this sport. Next, they have again one question, they have asked the question from this Sangam literature, and it was relatively difficult question. So such questions do frequently come in this UPSC. In that case, there is only one option for you to eliminate some of these options and use some logic if possible. Next, how many of these above dynasties established kingdom in the early 8th century? So remember, after this period of Harsha, we have already discussed while discussing about this syllabus. After this period of Harsha, we have this medieval, early medieval North Indian kingdom and South Indian kingdom, and in those kingdom, North Indian kingdom and South Indian kingdom, remember their kings, their dynasties, then chronology and scholars, all are important for your exam. Specifically this South Indian kingdom as well as North Indian kingdom. So here they have mentioned this Yadavs, Kakatiyas, Hoysalas and all these have established their kingdom not in the 8th century. So they have asked about this 8th century. These were not present from 8 to 10, these were present from 10 to 12th mostly. So if you, when you are studying about this medieval period, early medieval period, North Indian kingdom and South Indian kingdom, you should focus on these kings, their dynasties as well as their chronology. So this is also one of this famous question. They give this author and their work, and most of the times these authors were either related to this grammar or they were related to some of this famous Sanskrit text, or they were from this Buddhism or Jainism, means Buddhist scholar and Jain scholar. So this is the most basic question they have asked in this 2023 from Jainism. So the same exact verbatim, the same line is present in the NCERT, and they have directly given whether it is related to Jainism, Buddhism, Vaishnavism and Shaivism. So this was the question from this Jainism. Remember, question from this Jainism, basic philosophy of Jainism, Jain scholar, their literary work, all or basic understanding of this Jainism, basic philosophy, all these are important favorite theme of UPSC. Next, they have asked the question from this Vijayanagar Empire. We have already seen one question in this 2024 in this Vijayanagar Empire. They have again asked in this 2023 also Vijayanagar Empire. They might ask you in the 2025 also. So Vijayanagar Empire is also one of the important topic of UPSC. Then they have given this site related to, means its archaeological importance, and again this state. So this is common theme in the UPSC, where to focus and where not to focus. Then we will discuss this last paper, last or one more paper for this to understand the trend. So whenever they are asking the questions from this proper medieval period like Delhi Sultanate or Mughal or related part from that, so when they are asking from this medieval period, they are focusing on few things like term from this medieval and administration. But in general they are not focusing on this medieval that much, they are focusing on this ancient Indian history plus early part of medieval period. So remember, this proper medieval, later part is not that important for you, early part of medieval plus ancient history is important for us. Next, which of the following are Jain texts? So I already told you this basic philosophy of Jainism, Jain scholar, Jain literature, and some information about this Vardhaman Mahavir. So this is basic Jainism, Buddhism, Mauryan Empire, Ashoka's edicts, then Mauryan administration. These are the general topic important for UPSC. Once again, the question is related to scholars, and they are related to whether they were related to Buddhism, they were related to Jainism, they were related to Shaivism, Vaishnavism. This is the common theme. This is from this Delhi Sultanate, but the question from this Delhi Sultanate, Mughal, directly from this Mughal is very less. Then this is term from this medieval. So whenever they are asking the question mostly from this medieval, they are focusing on their administration or some term. So here they have asked the question about this Kautilya's Arthashastra. It is comparatively difficult question. Next, site of Ashoka's major rock edict and their location. So once again the question was from site, archaeological importance and their state. Remember, this is favorite topic, site, archaeological importance and their state, then Buddhist scholar, their literature, Jain scholar, their literature, or something related to the concept part of this Buddhism. All these are important and favorite theme of this UPSC. So here they have asked about this Ashoka's major rock edict and their location. So I already told you, whenever there is question from this Mauryan Empire, they are mostly focused on Mauryan administration, then Ashoka's Dhamma or architecture or this major rock edict. So when we are discussing about this Mauryan part, we will discuss about this major rock edict as well as minor rock edict. So how many pair given above are correctly matched? They have given this king and dynasty. I already told you, after this Harsha period, we have this early medieval period. In the North India, there were some kingdoms. In the South India, there were some kingdoms. So in the North Indian kingdom as well as South Indian kingdom, what is important for you? Their kings, dynasty, chronology and scholar. So remember, this is the important topic. Then once again the question from this Sangam literature. Then Yoga Vashishta was translated into Persian by Nizamuddin Panipati during the reign of. So this is again scholar and its work. So this was the question. The world's second tallest statue in sitting pose of Rama Nuja was inaugurated by the Prime Minister of India at Hyderabad. So this was from this, you can say, from this 6 Orthodox school, 6 Vedic school, but this question was specifically asked during this time because of this news. So it was in this current affair, Prime Minister of India Narendra Modi visited this statue in this Hyderabad. That's why there was question from this Bhakti. There was question from this Ramanuja. So as they have already asked the question from this Ramanujanacharya, though the question was specifically asked because it was in the news. So when we are discussing, we will discuss about this Shankaracharya, Ramanujanacharya as well as Madhvacharya. So next, these questions were from this modern Indian history. So everyone, please tell me. So this is the last chapter we will discuss. So are you getting this understanding from where the UPSC is asking question, where to concentrate, where not to concentrate, where to go for this in-depth reading of this book, or which part should be skipped? Everyone? So now this is the last paper we will see for these questions, and now we will directly jump for this main part of crash course. Kishore is saying, sir, chronology bhul jate. See, if you understand the topic, then there is no way to forget this chronology. It's not that difficult. You just have to revise few times. So anyone other than Sandeep, Vishnukant, Kishore? Others are also getting clarity? So, now we will see this 2021 question paper. See, we are all checking this question so that you should get this in mind. So, whenever you are reading any chapter, whenever you are reading any topic, you should understand what is important from this chapter, what is not important for this chapter. So, instead of what is reading, what not to read is more important for you, because if you consider the syllabus, if you in general consider the information given in any book, information provided for you is endless. There is no limit for it. So, you have to restrict yourself, you have to see these low hanging fruits from where you can get this maximum mark. Okay, so Hemant, Krishna, Suresh, Pratap, everyone is getting understanding. So, this is the last question paper we will see, then we will directly jump to this basic content part. So, in 2021 there was question from this, what they have asked? They have asked the question from this Dholavira. Why they have asked the question from this Dholavira? I already told you, it was related to this current affair, and this Dholavira added into this World Heritage Site list. But in general this is a pure static question. So, it was asked because it was in the current affairs, but everybody knows Dholavira was famous for this water harvesting or water conservation. Second, from the decline of Gupta until the rise of Harshavardhana in the early 7th century, which of the following kingdoms were holding power in the North India? So, remember, after this Gupta period, after this Harshavardhana period, see this North Indian kingdom and South Indian kingdom, all are important. What is important for you? King, their dynasties, and then chronology. But Kishore is saying, sir, chronology bhul jate. Remember, after this crash course, you won't forget this chronology. We will revise this multiple times, don't worry, you won't forget this chronology. Next, this was a slightly difficult question. They have asked about this traveler. They have asked the question, Nunis, the traveler, but the question was somewhat difficult. So, this was again from this Vijayanagar Empire. Then once again the question is related to site. Question was related to site and its archaeological importance, whether it was related to this, whether it was related, see Ganeshwar, I told you Ganeshwar from this Chalcolithic they have asked, earlier they have asked this Inamgaon site, before that they have asked this Ganeshwar site. That is why we should not miss anything from this Stone Age as well as Chalcolithic. They might ask the question from this match the following pair. Then this was easy question from this Delhi Sultanate. If they are asking some conceptual question from this Delhi Sultanate or Mughal, it was too much easy. Then this was related to this law books, textbook, Hindu law book like Mitakshara. Then once again question was related to the scholars and their work. Scholar and their work. Then in the medieval period they have asked the question, I already told you, if they are asking the questions from this medieval period, if they are asking the questions from this medieval period, then they are definitely asking some easy question from this Delhi Sultanate or Mughal Empire, or they are asking for some of this term from this medieval or administration. So, when we are discussing about this medieval period, we will focus on this pure administration. So, all other are from this modern Indian history. So, in general we have discussed this, we haven't discussed this each question along with their answer, but now we have at least seen some of this question from last 5 years. So, from this you might have get this understanding what to read and what not to read. So, Hemant is asking question, which book do you suggest for reference, sir? How much can we rely on NCERT? See, remember NCERTs are the best source, there is no doubt about it. There is no doubt. For your conceptual understanding, these old NCERTs are the best book in the market, but what the problem is, they have released few years back, around maybe more than 20 years back. So, that is why if you consider, I am talking about this old NCERTs which were released around this 2002 or maybe before that, what the problem is, now the data is outdated. So, if someone is asking about this latest site, because there were many archaeological excavation and development in the last 30 years, right. So, the data given in the old NCERT was outdated. And second important, whenever the UPSC is focusing on this fact, So UPSC is focusing on these different scholar and their work, literary work. All these facts are not present in this old NCERT, right? So we already have our ancient and medieval India history book written by me. We already have this modern Indian history. You can definitely rely on that. Once crash course is over, I will provide you the short PDF of 20 to 30 pages. So along with this book, you can refer to this additional PDF. So am I clear, Hemant? So Pratap, Suresh, everyone, Vikas, Vishnu. Okay, so we have already discussed these PYQs. Now if you see, based on these PYQs, I have given you the list. What is important, what is to read and what not to read. So if you consider based on this PYQ, you understand these sites are important. So in future they can definitely give you the Stone Age site, Chalcolithic site, IVC site, or some site which with respect to the sports or Buddhism or Jainism, like Buddhist site, Jain sites. So you should be ready for that site, archaeological importance and their state. So whenever you get these questions related to that, you should focus on. Second, UNESCO related topic. So we have already seen in the last 5 years there were 4 questions directly related to this UNESCO. You just have to remember this fact. When in the 2021 what was added, Dholavira was added, what was added in this 2023 in this intangible cultural heritage, what was added in this 2025 in this memory of world register. You just have to remember this few of these facts. So what is important for your exam is UNESCO related topics, which are these: World Heritage Site, Intangible Cultural Heritage, Creative Cities Network, and then Memory of World Register. Then scholars and literature. So this is also important theme for UPSC. Now UPSC already asked the questions many on these travelers. Last year it has asked the question from this Chinese traveler Fahin or Fayan. So next year you definitely have the chances of questions getting from another traveler or this Chinese traveler Huensang and Itzing. Next, Stone Age as such is not important for your exam. So we have already seen this question. There was no single question from this Stone Age, but we won't skip this Stone Age because this is the basic chapter, first chapter, from where we will build this understanding. And in the Stone Age, we are going to focus on some of the important sites. Second, Chalcolithic age, only sites are important. So they have already asked the question from this Inamgaon as well as this Ganeshwar. Next, what is important from this IVC is basic understanding of this Indus Valley civilization or Bronze Age culture. Apart from this basic understanding, what you need to remember is these different sites, which is the northernmost side, which is southernmost side, easternmost side, westernmost side, where this Alamgirpur is present, where this Daimabad is present, where this Shortugai is present. All these things, site and their states, are important, along with some of these key findings. Like last year there was question from this bronze statue of dancing girl. So where it was found? It was found in this Mohenjo-daro. Then we have this priest king. Then we have this few other. We have also found this evidence of use of this plough from this Kalibangan, and it was also associated with this early Harappan culture. So all these important facts are important for your exam. Next, Vedic age. In the Vedic age, you should focus on this basic understanding, then Vedic text and these 6 schools of Vedic philosophy, right? So in the Mahajanpadas, we already know what is important from this Mahajanpadas. Location. These 16 Mahajanpadas, list of these 16 Mahajanpadas, their capitals, their states, where it was located, and then rivers. associated river. So after Mahajanpadas, this Buddhism and Jainism in detail is important. We haven't discussed the question before this 2021. If you analyze this question before the 2021, there were questions from this Buddhist sects also, particularly from this Hinayana and Mahayana Buddhism. So we have to focus on these different Buddhist sects, then Hinayana and Mahayana Buddhism, Buddhist scholar and their literature, as well as basic philosophy of Buddhism and some important points, information related to this Gautam Buddha. Similarly, for the Jainism, basic philosophy, Jain scholar, Jain literature, Jain sects. Along with that, we will also discuss about this Buddhist council. There were 4 Buddhist council, there were 2 Jain council. So we will discuss this Buddhism and Jainism in detail. So after this Buddhism and Jainism, we have this Mauryan Empire, and what is important from this Mauryan Empire? Administration, then Ashoka. Within this Ashoka, what is important? His Dhamma, philosophy of Dhamma, then edicts of Ashoka and architecture. Remember, in the edicts, if you can't remember this minor edict, at least remember this major edicts plus their states or location. Then we will discuss about this Gupta period. So after this Mauryan Empire, what are these post Mauryan kingdoms? What are these post Mauryan states are present? Like Central Asian Indo-Greeks, Shakas, Kushanas, then regional like Satavahanas and all. You can read from your side. There were not many questions in the last few years, and these are not that much important for our exam. If some of the scholars are important from that part, we will definitely take in between. Then in the early medieval period, I already told you this North Indian kingdom and South Indian kingdom. Here what is important? King, their dynasty, chronology and their scholars along with their work. And from this medieval period, what they have basically focus on? Terms and administration and Vijayanagar Empire. So now we have already discussed everything about this previous year questions, and based on the previous year question, now we have also discussed about what to read and what not to read, and within that topic, which are the subtopics we should focus on. So now tell me, am I clear to everyone? So we have thoroughly covered this PYQ analysis part in last 1 hour. So everybody, those who are watching this lecture, am I clear? So now we will take 2 minutes of break or 5 minutes of break, and we will continue with this proper history part. So am I audible to everyone? So till now we have discussed everything about this previous year questions, like, and based on this previous year questions, which are the topics important for your exam, and within this topic what is important for your exam. So within this topic which subtopic you should focus on and which part you can skip. So in today's lecture, first we are going to discuss about this basic understanding, because these are the terms which I am going to use for this next 10 or 12 lectures. So instead of explaining that every time, first we will discuss this basic understanding, that is what is meant by this age, then what is meant by this culture, what is this prehistory, and then history, like what is this prehistoric phase or this historic phase, and we will discuss about this excavation, like what is this horizontal excavation, then vertical excavation. And when we are discussing about this horizontal as well as vertical excavation, we will discuss about this Archaeological Survey of India, which was established in 1861. Now tell me, who was the first Director General of Archaeological Survey of India? Anyone? Who was the first Director General of Archaeological Survey of India? Anyone other than Kishore? Kishore is saying Alexander Cunningham. Okay, Sandeep is also saying Alexander Cunningham. Yes, everyone is correct. Who was this first Director General of Archaeological Survey of India? Alexander Cunningham, and he was also called as father of Indian archaeology. So now first, who is saying John Marshall? Suresh. Now tell me other members, why this John Marshall is important for you or for your exam? What is particular fact about this John Marshall? That's why this John Marshall was important for you. Anyone? Suresh is saying John Marshall. Remember, John Marshall was the Director General of this Archaeological Survey of India from 1902 to 1928. So he was not the first Director General of ASI. So anyone, what is important about this John Marshall? Why John Marshall is important for you? Remember, John Marshall was this Director General who announced this. Yes, Kishore is correct. John Marshall was the Director General of ASI who announced this discovery of Indus Valley Civilization in 1924. In 1924, so just 2 years back, we have completed this 100 year of this announcement of discovery of IVC. So it was announced by this John Marshall. John Marshall was not the first Director General, remember. So now first we are focusing on this age. First we are focusing on this age. Remember, what is by this age? So we have used this term Stone Age, then Chalcolithic Age, then Bronze Age, then Iron Age. So we have used these different terms like Indus Valley culture or Chalcolithic culture. Along with that culture, we have also used this term age. So what is meant by this age? Remember, age is nothing but this time period. Time period or major historical phase. So in general you can consider this time period or major historical phase or historical period. So it is major historical period. And how it is named? So this age is named based on the type of material or technology. Type of material or technology has used by these people during this time. Means the people during this time, the human development of this time was identified based on this material or technology. So based on what they have used, which indicates the human development at that time, based on that this age has given this different name. I will give the example. Initially people were using these stone tools. They did not started using this copper or metal. So this age is called as Stone Age. Once people started using this metal, it is called as Metal Age. So before people started using this metal, they were using mainly the stone tools. So this period of human development was identified because of these stone tools. So this period, during this period, human development was because of these stone tools. So this period is called as Stone Age. Once people started using this metal, it is called as Metal Age, and based on what type of metal they have used, which metal used, it was again divided into Chalcolithic period or Chalcolithic age. So initially they were using copper along with the stone. So it is called as Chalco or Calco, means copper, and lithic means stone, copper Stone Age. Then they started using this bronze, and it is called as Bronze Age. Remember, this bronze is an alloy of copper and tin. Remember, bronze is an alloy of copper and tin. Most of the time the option given was copper and zinc. So copper and zinc form this brass and not bronze. So remember, based on the type of metal used, it was classified into Chalcolithic age, Bronze Age, then Iron Age, right? So this age is nothing but this time period or major historical period, and it was named based on the type of material or technology used. So it was based when people were using, humans were using this stone, it was called as Stone Age. Once they started using this metal, it was called as Metal Age, which was further divided into Chalcolithic, then Bronze Age, then Iron Age. So am I clear to everyone? So this is about age. Age is nothing but this time period or this major historical period. So if you see this age, what is by this age? Age is a major historical period, and it was named after the material or technology that defined that stage of human development. Example, Stone Age, people were using this stone during this time. Then Metal Age was further divided into Chalcolithic age, Bronze Age, and then Iron Age. Chalcolithic age, Bronze Age, and then Iron Age. Next we will discuss about this culture. So what is meant by this culture? So currently we use this term Indian culture, Western culture, American culture, Maharashtrian culture, North Indian culture, South Indian culture. So what is by this culture? Culture is nothing but way of life, how people are living. So culture is nothing but way of life of people living in particular area at particular time. So remember, what is by this culture? Culture means in general, it is a way of life of people living in particular area in particular period of time. If you see Indus Valley culture or Harappan culture, so how we define this Harappan culture? So they have this urban system, they have this urban centers, surplus food grain production, then underground drainage system, use of uniform brick. So all these are features which define this Harappan culture. So remember, Harappan culture is or any culture is nothing but way of life of people living in particular area in particular period of time. So I have given you this example of Harappan culture. But if you see archaeologically, in archaeology this culture is identified based on the material remains present, like based on the what type of pottery they have used, based on the what type of tools they have used, based on what type of bricks they have used. So if you see this Indus Valley civilization or Harappan culture archaeologically, They identified based on this, they have used this uniform size of brick 1:2:4. They have used this steatite steels. They have used this underground drainage system. So basically, if you see in the archaeology, culture refers to this group of objects which are distinctive in style, particular in style, find in particular period of time. So in general, just remember this, culture is nothing but way of life of people in particular area in particular time, and in archaeology this culture is identified based on the distinctive objects found. Like I have already given you the example of this Harappan culture. So it was characterized by this plan cities, then underground drainage system, then these uniform seals, then uniform system of this weightage, then uniform bricks, burnt bricks 1:2:4 in size, then undeciphered scream. So all these are things which define this Harappan culture. Remember, this culture can be, if you just see the example of this Indus Valley civilization or Indus Valley culture. So we call this as a Indus culture. Why? It was present in this Indus region. So this culture can be named based on the region or location. So in next few lecture we are going to discuss about this Chalcolithic culture. Within this Chalcolithic culture there are many cultures which are named based on this region, like Malwa culture present in this Malwa region, means this Madhya Pradesh. Similarly here Indus culture means culture can be named based on this region or location. So for this Indus culture we also use this term Harappan culture. Why? This culture can be named based on this first discovered site. Based on this first discovered site. So when we discuss about this Indus Valley civilization, we discuss about this Harappan site. So Harappa was the first site discovered. So this culture is also called as Harappan culture. So this Harappan culture is also called as Indus culture. Why? Based on this region or location. It is also called as Bronze Age culture. Bronze Age culture. Why it is called as Bronze Age culture? Based on the type of metal used. Means culture can be named based on the metal also. Type of metal they have used. So this culture can be named based on this region, based on the first discovered site, based on the type of metal used, as well as based on the type of pottery found. So if you consider in the 6th century BC in the North India, we see this northern black polished ware culture. Why this culture is named? Because there was existence of northern black polished ware, this particular type of pottery. Similarly, in the later Vedic period in North India, we will see this painted grey ware culture. Why? Because this type of pottery is found. So remember, this culture can be named based on the region, based on the first discovered site, then based on the type of metal used, and based on the pottery. So use of material, it is called as Bronze Age culture. Then geographical region, you have this Indus culture. So if you consider this Malwa culture present in this approximately Madhya Pradesh region. So this is Malwa culture. Then first identified site, based on that it is called as Harappan culture. Next, this culture can be named based on the type of pottery they have used during this time, like northern black polished ware culture. So remember, these are the different types where culture can be named. So am I clear to everyone? So other than Sandeep and Hemant, now I will give you the simple statement. Whether it can be true, means correct or incorrect, tell me. Malwa culture site related to Malwa culture can be found in Maharashtra. Site related to Malwa culture can be found in Maharashtra. Correct? Incorrect? Is it possible to find the site related to Malwa culture in Maharashtra, or it is restricted to this Madhya Pradesh only, Malwa region only? Okay, correct. So those we have joined, those we have done our foundation, all are saying correct. See, culture, what is by this culture? Culture means way of life. Culture means way of life of people living in the particular area, particular time. So you can say some people in some region, suppose in the Malwa region, means in the Madhya Pradesh region, there is particular way of life of people there. It's quite possible that in other region also, at the same time or different period of time, there may be the similar culture, there may be the similar way of life. So basically, though the name is based on the region, that doesn't mean this culture is restricted to that region. No, though the Malwa culture name is based on that region present in this Madhya Pradesh, but you can definitely find these culture sites in the Maharashtra also. So maybe this same this site may not show the same culture during that time, but they can show the same culture before or after that. So what is by this culture? Culture means way of life. The way of life of people present in this Maharashtra and present in this Madhya Pradesh, both can be the same. And in archaeology, it is based on these distinctive objects. So remember, though the name is based on the region, that doesn't mean it was restricted only to this region. Like if you consider this Ahar culture, basically name based Ahar is based on this first discovered site. So this Ahar culture is from Rajasthan, but that doesn't mean all the site belong to this Rajasthan. No, you can see many sites in the Madhya Pradesh. Before showing this Malwa culture, they show this Ahar culture. So this one site can be found in more than one culture. We are going to discuss in this lecture only. So am I clear to everyone? So remember, though the name is based on that region, that doesn't mean this culture was restricted to only that region. No, other sites in other region also show the same culture. So what is mean this culture? Culture means way of life of people living in particular area in particular time. Okay, so I think everything is clear. Now we will discuss about this division of history. So why we are taking these simple points? You may think that this basic point should not be taught in this crash course, but remember, these are the points which are important. It might help you if UPSC is asking the question based on some understanding. This might help you to target that question, to make this question correct, and most important is this simple basic lecture will help you to save a lot of time when you are reading any book. So you may not get confused because of this basic understanding. So now we are going to discuss about this division of history. So if you consider this history is divided into prehistoric period and historic period. So what is the basis of this division? So if you consider, suppose this is 1 lakh BC, then this is 10,000 BC, 1000 BC, 600 BC or 6th century BC, then 300 BC, 200 BC, 0, then 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever it is. So remember, before this 600 BC, this period is known as prehistoric period. And after the 6th century BC, it is called as historic period. Anyone, can you tell me what is the basis of this division? Historic period. Yes, Sandeep is saying script. Krishna is saying no recorded history. Okay. Yes, written text. Remember, if you want to reconstruct the history of this period, any period, if you have this written records, means when the written records are available, means after this 6th century BC or 600 BC, it is historic period. So reconstruction of history during this historic period can be based on written records, but before this 600 BC you do not have this written records at that period. So here we do not have any written records, no written records for the reconstruction of history, no written records for the reconstruction of history. So if you want to reconstruct the history of this period, you have to dependent on this archaeological remains or material remains. Archaeological remains or material remains. So remember, after this 6th century BC or 600 BC, you have this written records available which can be deciphered. So there are written records and you can read this. So you can reconstruct the history of this period based on written records, but before that you do not have this written records, and the reconstruction of history is based on these archaeological remains. So archaeological remains are also present during this time. So in the historical period we have this written records as well as archaeological or material remains, but before that in the prehistory you have only material remains or archaeological remains. So in general when written records are available and deciphered, this period is considered as historic period, and before this we consider this period as a prehistoric period when written records are not available or not deciphered. Now we will go slightly in depth, some deeper aspect. See, I will give two examples. First is Indus Valley civilization from 2600 to 1900. Next, Vedic period from 1500 to 600. 1500 to 600 BC. This is 2600 to 900 BC. So according to this approach, when written records are present and deciphered, it is historic. When written records are not available, reconstruction is based on this archaeological remains. So before the 6th century BC, 600 BC means prehistoric. So on that logic, both should be prehistoric. So this 2600 to 1900 BC means before this 600 BC. Similarly, this 1500 to 600 BC means before this 600 BC. So both should be prehistoric period, right? So in general it is true. Now we are going into some in depth. Remember, in the Indus Valley civilization, do we have this written records of this Indus Valley civilization? Have you find any written records of Indus Valley civilization? Any script? Yes, we have found these many inscriptions from this Indus Valley civilization also, but the problem is the script is not deciphered. So here we have this written records. We have this written records, but script is not deciphered, script is undeciphered. So though we have this written records, these are not useful for the reconstruction of history. So according to, if you see directly definition, when written records are available, it should be historical period. Here written records are available, but remember, these are not deciphered. And if you consider this Vedic period, so we know about this Vedic text like Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samveda, Atharveda, as well as Upanishad, all these things. So here Vedic period by definition, it is from 1500 to 600, means it should be in this prehistory. As it is in the prehistory, we should not get any written records. But if you see the Vedic period, reconstruction of history is mainly depend on this Vedic text. But the problem is, these texts were not written during this time. These were orally transmitted and written after the 600 BC. So if you go clearly by this definition, both cannot be purely prehistoric, cannot be purely historic. So this is proto-history. This is proto-history. So you can directly consider before 6th century BC prehistory, after 6th century BC history, or before this 3rd century BC prehistory, from 3rd century BC to 600 proto-history, after 6th century historical period. So, if you consider these peculiar things about this IVC, in IVC written records are available, but we could not decipher that. And in the Vedic period, written records are available, but these were not written during this time. These were written during this historic period. So, this phase is called as proto-history. So, IVC script is not related to any other script. So, we do not have any thing to compare. So, last year Tamil Nadu CM Stalin, he has also announced some prize for decipherment of Indus script or Harappan script. So, remember, this is the division of history, prehistory and then historical period. See, prehistory, time before written records are available. So, before this 6th century BC, here in the prehistory, reconstruction of history is based on archaeological evidences, like what types of potteries they have used, what type of tools they have used, what type of architecture or buildings you will find. So, reconstruction of history is based on that. So, in India, this period is before 6th century BC. So, remember, when we call this prehistory, means it is before this 6th century BC. And what is this historic period? When the written records are available as well as deciphered. So, here for the reconstruction, you have written records as well as archaeological evidence. And in India, the historic period starts around 6th century BC. Next, what is this proto-history? So, it is a transitional phase between prehistory and history. We have seen these two examples, Indus Valley civilization and then Vedic age. In the Indus Valley civilization, you have these written records, but these written records are not deciphered. And in the Vedic period, we have these written records, but these were written during this historic period. Now, we are going to discuss about this excavation. Now, we are going to discuss about this excavation. See, before we discuss about this excavation, we will discuss about this prehistory to history part. Prehistory to history part. Remember, have the full concentration for next 10 minutes. It will solve many of your doubts. Why the culture exists simultaneously and all these things, you might have these doubts. All problems will be solved. Just have the full concentration for next 5 to 10 minutes. So, remember, running notes you may have, but all this is generic information, right, in the first lecture. From the second lecture, you can have this running notes. So, this is general understanding, what is my this age, what is my this culture, division of history. I am taking this, generally no one takes this in the crash course. I am taking this so that you won't have the confusion in the next lecture. So, from the next lecture, you can directly take this running notes. So, now for the next 5 to 10 minutes, have full concentration. See, initially people were using this stone. So, this period is called as Stone Age. So, if you consider this Stone Age, so during this period people started, so during this Stone Age, please do not comment for next 5 or 10 minutes, right, have this full concentration. So, in the initial phase people were using the stone tools, we call this period as a Stone Age. People did not started use of this copper or metal. So, this period is definitely called as Stone Age, and based on the type of tool used, it was again divided into Paleolithic, Mesolithic and Neolithic. Old Stone Age, Middle Stone Age and then New Stone Age. So, remember, during this time people did not use this metal. they were mainly dependent on the stone. So, this period is called as Stone Age. Now, tell me, is it possible to start using the stone at the same time in entire India or in entire world? Is it possible? Do you think they have started using this stone at the same time in India as well as Africa? Anyone? Can you tell me, is it possible? Not possible. So, similarly, if you consider today I am in the Maharashtra, in the Pune, I am using internet. So, if you classify this age based on the availability of internet, today I am using this internet, so I am in the internet age. Someone from this island, maybe Andaman Nicobar Island or any other island, they might not have this access to internet, so they are still not in this internet age, but definitely after a few years or maybe after a few months, few days, they start using, suppose they are starting using this internet, then definitely they will also come in this internet age. Similarly, people in the Africa, first of all they started using this stone. So, in Africa, stone age started earlier than India. In India, it started around this 6 lakh BC. It started around this in general 6 lakh years ago. In India, it started around this 6 lakh years ago. So, people started using these stone tools, and based on the type of stone tools they have used, we have classified them into Paleolithic age, Mesolithic and Neolithic. So, if you go from this Paleolithic to Mesolithic, Mesolithic to Neolithic, technology got advanced. So, in the initial phase during this Paleolithic, they were using these crude stone tools, large size crude stone tools. In the next phase, they started using the small size sophisticated stone tools less than 5 centimeter in size, called as microlith. Once again you go from this Mesolithic to Neolithic, they started using these polished stone tools. So, technology got advanced. So, based on the type of stone tools they have used, we have classified this age into Paleolithic, Mesolithic and Neolithic. So, if you consider this stone age, so it started from this 6 lakh BC and continued till this 10,000 BC. What was this period? Paleolithic period. So, during this Paleolithic phase, people were using this crude and large size stone tools. From this 10,000 BC to this 4,000 BC, we have this Mesolithic period. Means during this period, technology got advanced and people started using this microlith, small size stone tools, better specialized stone tools, and this phase is called as Mesolith. Remember, around this 7,000 BC, and continue till this 1000 BC. Around this 7000 BC, people started using these polished stone tools. So, this period we called as Neolithic. So, if you consider here during this Paleolithic from 6 lakh to 10,000 BC, people were using this crude large size stone tools. Here people are using this microlith, means small size stone tools, and now the technology got advanced and people were using these polished stone tools. Remember this period. Now, this is 7,000, right? So, if you consider this period from 7,000 to 4,000, during this period, in some part there was Mesolithic sites and in another part there were Neolithic sites. So, at the same period of time, in India, in some region, people were still using this microlith, but in another part technology got advanced and people started using this polished stone tools. Means at the same time two culture exist. Why at the same time two culture exist? Remember, the development is not uniform everywhere, and as the development is not uniform everywhere, there was coexistence of different culture. Now everyone who are watching this video, tell me, is it clear for you this concept? So, why there was coexistence of different culture? So, when people were using this microlith, they were not technologically that advanced. In another part of India, people get advanced technologically and they started using this polished stone tools. So, at the same period of time, in some part of India we have this Mesolithic period, people started using this microlith. In another part, people started using this polystone tools, and they were in this Neolithic period. So remember, at the same time, some sites were in the Mesolithic and some site in this Neolithic. So here in the Neolithic, people started using this polystone tools, but remember, they did not use copper yet. Now tell me the statement is correct or incorrect. Traces of copper have been found in some of this Neolithic site. This statement can be correct or incorrect. Tell me, what is the possibility? Traces of coppers have been found in this Neolithic site. How it is correct? In the Neolithic site, they were dependent on this stone, right? I am telling you they did not start using this copper. So how you are saying yes? Simple, in the Neolithic phase, they are completely dependent on stone, right? Stone tools. So they should not be dependent on copper, and multiple times I told you they did not start using this copper. No, I am specifically asking about this Neolithic site which are in the Neolithic phase. In that site, in that particular phase, whether you will find this copper or not. In the Neolithic site, at this Neolithic period, whether you will find in some site copper or not. See, so remember, during the Stone Age, they use this stone, right? During the Stone Age, they use this stone, and next phase is, once they started using this copper, we call this as a Chalcolithic. We call this Chalcolithic. So here they are using copper along with this stone, copper along with this stone, copper along with this stone, right? So now remember this concept. Have this full concentration. See, just finding few copper artifacts in this Neolithic. If we found few copper artifacts in the Neolithic, that doesn't mean the site is Chalcolithic. We are calling this site as Chalcolithic because here copper is used by this common people. So when the use of copper became common, we are calling this as a Chalcolithic phase. If you remember, if you have already read about this Chalcolithic period, in Chalcolithic period, in some of these sites we have found these traces of bronze, but that doesn't mean these were bronze site. So when we are calling this Chalcolithic site, when the use of copper became common, when common people in their daily life they are using this copper. Similarly, when we are calling some site as a Bronze Age site, when common people in the daily life they were using this bronze, we are calling this as a Bronze Age site. So remember, just finding few artifacts of copper in the Neolithic phase, that doesn't mean the site is Chalcolithic. No, when we are saying this Chalcolithic, means when copper was used by this common people in the daily life. So you may see, so this is Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic, and after the Neolithic we have this Chalcolithic. So you might find some copper in this Neolithic phase. That doesn't mean the site was the Chalcolithic. Why? Finding few traces of copper doesn't mean it was used by this common people. When we are calling this Chalcolithic phase or Chalcolithic site, when it was used by this common people in their daily life. So am I clear to everyone? Similarly, if you are finding this some traces of this bronze, that doesn't mean the beginning of Bronze Age. No, when common people are using in their daily life. So when I am saying here, in the Neolithic phase or in the Stone Age, we did not, or humans did not use, people did not use this copper, means in general in daily life common people did not use the copper. So you may find these traces of copper in some of this Neolithic site. So other than Sandeep, are you getting clear understanding, everyone? So when I am saying in the Stone Age people did not use the copper, in the sense people did not use the copper common in the daily life. When I am saying in the Chalcolithic period people did not use the bronze means in general in common life daily people did not use. Now see Paleolithic phase, when people using this crude or large size stone tools from 6 lakh BC to 10,000 BC, from 10,000 BC to 4,000 BC people started using this microlith. We call this phase as a mesolith. From 7,000 BC means when in some part people were still dependent on microlith, in another part people started using this polished stone tools, and it continued till this 1000 BC. Remember, when around this 4000, yes, I am not talking about this future. In future it is quite possible, it all depends on the excavation and discovery. So remember, around this 4000 BC, around this 4000 BC means around this 4000 BC when people were using this polished stone tools and they were not using this copper, at the same time in other part of India people started using this copper, and it continued till this 700 BC. And here people started using this copper along with this stone, and we call this as a Chalcolithic culture. Chalcolithic culture. So remember, here around this 4000 BC, if you take this 4000 to 3000 BC, in some part of India people were still using these polished stone tools, they were not using this copper, and this part or this site is in this Neolithic. At the same time in another part of India people started using this copper, and the site was this Chalcolithic site. So there was existence of Neolithic site in some part of India and Chalcolithic site in another part of India. So in some part of India people were still dependent on stone tools, they did not start the use of this copper, and these were the Neolithic site. In another part people started using this copper along with these two stone tools, and these were this Chalcolithic site. So if you consider this 4000 BC, this Mesolithic phase continued till this 4000 BC. So after 4000 BC some site might directly go into this Neolithic phase and some directly go into this Chalcolithic phase. So there is quite possibility. If you consider this Maharashtra region or Madhya Pradesh region, in this part, particularly this northern part of Maharashtra, there were no separate Neolithic site. So after this Mesolithic, they have directly jumped into this Chalcolithic. So you can find this Neolithic site along with this Chalcolithic site in the Maharashtra. So this is not important, this is only for your general understanding. So remember this, if you consider this Stone Age, Paleolithic continued from 6 lakh to 10,000 BC, Mesolithic from 10,000 to 4,000 BC, Neolithic from 7,000 to 1000 BC. When people were using these polished stone tools, in another part people started using this copper, and this is Chalcolithic. So remember, when people were using this copper and they did not know how to use this bronze, how to mix copper with tin and to make this bronze, at the same time in northwest part of India, in this Indus region from 2600 to 1900 BC, people started using this bronze, and this is called as Bronze Age. Bronze Age or Indus Valley Civilization. Bronze Age or Indus Valley Civilization. Then from 1500 to the 600 we have this Vedic period. And this Vedic period is divided into early Vedic period from 1500 to 1000 and 1000 to 600, this is later Vedic period. Early Vedic period to later Vedic period. So till the 6th century BC, this is the prehistory. This is prehistory. This is Stone Age, this is Chalcolithic Age, this is Bronze Age, and after this 1000 you have this Iron Age. So if you get any question, remember based on this latest findings and all, we don't consider this latest finding until Government of India or ASI, Archaeological Survey of India, accept the report. Till that, remember, this iron was used after this 1000 BC. Means before this, if you get any question whether people were acquainted with this iron, your answer should be no. From 1000 BC, people were acquainted with iron, means after this late, means from this later Vedic period. So if you get this question before this later Vedic period, if you get this question whether IVC people were acquainted with this iron, no. Whether Neolithic people acquainted with iron, no. Mesolithic people, Paleolithic people, Chalcolithic people, no. Your answer should be completely no. So remember, iron was known to people in this later Vedic period after this 1000 BC. Similarly, remember, horses came to India along with this beginning of Vedic period. So along with this Aryans, horses came to India. Horses as well as spoked wheels. So earlier we were using the solid wheels. So we started using the spoked wheels after this arrival of Aryans. So when Aryans came to India around this 1500 BC, so 1500 BC considered as start of this Vedic period, early Vedic period. If you get any question before that, if you get the question whether Indus Valley civilization people of this Indus Valley, whether they were acquainted with horses, your answer should be no. So before this 1500 BC, your answer should be no with respect to horses. Your answer should be no with respect to these spoked wheels. So if you get this question whether Chalcolithic people were acquainted with horses, no. If Chalcolithic people were acquainted with spoked wheel, no. Whether Indus Valley people were acquainted with horses, no. So remember, around this 1500 BC, with the arrival of Aryans, we have this horses and spoked wheel. Similarly, in this later Vedic period, after this 1000 BC, we have this use of iron. So after this 1000 BC, we call this as a Iron Age. So now tell me whether you got this clarity about this prehistory, whether everyone got this clarity. Now see, we already know, and this practice was quite common during this ancient time, medieval time, even currently we follow this practice. After this death, along with this burial, along with this dead body, we used to take some of these objects, we used to bury some of this object, right. So this practice was common in this ancient time, medieval time, and it is continuing even today. So now tell me, during this, suppose they have talked about this Chalcolithic people, and whether you will find iron along with this dead person. If you excavate their burial, whether you will find this iron or not in this Chalcolithic period, Chalcolithic site. No, they did not start using this iron. Remember, they have started using this, or they have used this copper but not iron. Now tell me whether you will find this copper objects, whether you will find this copper objects. Yes. Now tell me whether you will find the iron in this Indus Valley civilization, whether you will find this iron in the Indus Valley civilization. No. Whether you will find these horses in this Indus Valley civilization, horses in the Indus Valley civilization. See, whatever we have found this in this Surkotada in the excavation, it is debatable. The research has to be done, right, to prove it. But in general, for your exam, remember, iron, horses came to India along with this Aryans around this 1500 BC. So before that, your answer should be no. Remember, this is most important fact. After this 600 BC, after this 600 BC means with the beginning of this historical period. After this 600 BC or 6th century BC. Suppose this is 6th century BC or 600 BC. Which animals were not found in the IVC? See, who is asking this? Adiraj. Adiraj, we are not discussing about this IVC, right? So this is general discussion. Don't comment anything which is not relevant. So if you consider this 6th century BC, remember one important fact. During the 6th century BC, we have this surplus food grain production. We have this surplus food grain production. Remember, there are 10,000 people who were 10,000 people who were producing for this 1 lakh people. So, as there was surplus food grain production during the 6th century BC, as 10,000 people were producing for this 1 lakh people, now what this 90,000 people will do? Some will do the job of carpenter, some will do this administration, some will do this house building, etc. So, different people. If there was not surplus food grain production, so all people will be involved in this agriculture only. But as there is surplus food grain production after the 6th century BC, now these different peoples are involved in this different work. There was specialization of work and development of urban centers. Development of urban centers. Why there was development of urban centers? Now these different people won't live near to these villages, near to this agriculture, right? So they will go outside these villages, they will do some other work. As some people are living outside these villages, as some people are living away from their villages or away from this farm or agriculture, now some people started this trade. So whatever they are cultivating here, they will procure and they will send in the cities. So remember, after the 6th century BC, we have this surplus food grain production, and because of this surplus food grain production, we have this development of urban center, and this is urbanization. Remember, development of urban centers in the 6th century BC, it was second urbanization. It was second urbanization, and the second urbanization continued till today also. Means after this there was no complete end of this urbanization. Urban centers were continued till this 6th century BC. If you get any question before this 6th century BC, always I am saying except this IVC. So only during this IVC we have this surplus food grain production. Except this IVC, always your answer should be no surplus food grain production. No surplus food grain production. Only during this IVC, Indus Valley Civilization, from 2600 to 1900, we have this surplus food grain production, and because of this surplus food grain production, we have this urban centers. So this urban development of urban center in the northwest part of India from 2600 to 1900, this is called as first urbanization. This is called as first urbanization. But remember, once again after 1900, we have this rural society. If urban centers were not disappeared, then this first urbanization will continue, right? But urban centers were disappeared, and second time urbanization happened during this 6th century BC. So if you get this question before the 6th century BC, always there was subsistence agriculture and no surplus food grain production. There was only one time surplus food grain production before the 6th century BC, and that was period of this IVC. That's why in the IVC we have few urban centers. Remember, though we are calling this IVC as urbanization, there were more villages than urban centers. Even today in India, there were more villages than urban centers. So if you get any question from this timeline, so remember, before the 6th century BC, you have only one time surplus food grain production during this IVC. Now tell me the answer. During this Chalcolithic phase, there was surplus food grain production. During this Chalcolithic phase, there was surplus food grain production. Am I correct? During the Chalcolithic phase, there was surplus food grain production. Am I correct? No. Before the 6th century BC, only exception is IVC. Except IVC, everything is subsistence agriculture. Now tell me, during this Neolithic phase, there was surplus food grain production. During this Neolithic phase, there was surplus food grain production. No, during this Neolithic phase there was no surplus food grain production. Now tell me whether when there was surplus food grain production, early Vedic period or later Vedic period. Now tell me, there was surplus food grain production during early Vedic period or later Vedic period. Who is saying both? Mehak is saying both. Apurva is saying later, Sandeep is saying later. See, this early Vedic period is from 1500 to 1000, right? Later Vedic period is 1000 to 600. I already told you before this 600, everything is subsistence agriculture except this IVC. Only IVC was surplus. So, even during this early Vedic period as well as later Vedic period, in both cases there was no surplus food grain production, neither in early Vedic period nor in later Vedic period. So, am I clear? Yes, Adiraj is correct. Neither early Vedic period nor later Vedic period. So, only Tanushri and Adiraj both are correct. So, should we extend the lecture by just 5 minutes? We have just one topic left from this basic understanding. I will directly use the slides, fine. Okay, fine. So, we will complete this excavation, basic understanding. This is the last topic. We already discussed age, culture, prehistory, prehistory, proto-history and then historical phase. Now, the last chapter is this excavation. So, remember, suppose currently I am present here, suppose this is a layer of earth. Currently we are present here, this is soil. Suppose because of some reason, because of earthquake or anything, all destroyed and everything is buried here. Now the layer become this, right? So, suppose this is a layer. After some period people are living here in this phase, and even after suppose maybe 100 year, 200 year or 1000 year, once again all this got buried. So, this is layer B. Next people are living here, but once again because of some destruction all things were buried, and this is layer C after some period of time. So, now tell me which one is the oldest layer, which layer among this ABC was from this oldest period, which layer is from this oldest? Yes, basically A is the oldest, and which one is the latest? C is the latest. If I am telling you these layers are from Chalcolithic phase, Paleolithic phase and then Mesolithic. One is from Chalcolithic, one is from Paleolithic and one is from Mesolithic. Now tell me among these three which one was from this Chalcolithic phase? Which one was from this Chalcolithic phase? Yes, definitely C. So, first layer should be Paleolithic. So, A should be Paleolithic, then B should be Mesolithic and latest one should be this Chalcolithic. So, now you have understood these different layers, right. So, study of these different layers also called as stratigraphy. So, if you have to study this site, if you have to study one particular site, you have two types of excavation. One is vertical excavation, means digging down like this, and one we have this horizontal excavation like digging horizontally. So, if you are doing this vertical excavation, you are studying these different layers. So, if you are doing this vertical excavation, you are studying these different layers. So, you can understand how the life of people change from one part to another part, means how the life of people change from one time period to another time period. So, this vertical excavation helps to study this different layer and it helps to understand how this life change from one period to another period. But if you see this horizontal excavation, so if you see this horizontal excavation, in the horizontal excavation you can see, you can get this understanding how people live in a particular time period. So, it is not taking it is not considering or studying this different layer. It is studying only this single layer. So by this horizontal excavation, you can get this understanding of how these people live in a particular time, but you won't get this understanding of this different layer. So if you want to understand this different layer, then you have to do this vertical excavation. So there are two types of excavation. Vertical excavation means digging down to study this different layer and helps to understand the sequence of event over a period of time. So oldest layer will be the lowest layer will be the oldest, and highest layer will be the recent. Then horizontal excavation will help you to understand how the people live in a particular time period. You won't get understanding how the life change. So vertical excavation, how life change over a period of time. So if you see Mehergarh, so when we have vertically excavated this Mehergarh, the period 1, so there were 3 layers, layer 1, layer 2, layer 3. So this layer 1 and 2 belongs to Neolithic, and layer 3 belongs to this Chalcolithic. Layer 3 belongs to this Chalcolithic. So remember, till now you have learned that this Mehergarh was this Neolithic site. That doesn't mean it was not the Chalcolithic site. It was a famous Neolithic site, but it was also this Chalcolithic site. We have discussed this excavation to understand that one site can show more than one culture in different period of time. Suppose if you take this Burzahom, whatever we have done this excavation in Burzahom, the first and second layer means this lower layer, it has showed this Neolithic phase, then it has directly showed this megalithic phase, and then early historic phase means after the 600 BC. So this one site, if you are studying about some specific site which was from this Chalcolithic culture, don't consider that it will only show this Chalcolithic culture. No, at different period of time it will show this different culture. So how you will understand this different culture of the site? Only after studying this vertical excavation and not this horizontal excavation. So remember, though Mehergarh is a famous Neolithic site, it also shows this Chalcolithic culture. So it was also Chalcolithic site. So single site can show more than one culture at or more than one age at different period of time. Next, Archaeological Survey of India. When this Archaeological Survey of India was established, it was established in 1861, and who was the first Director General? Alexander Cunningham. So Alexander Cunningham is also called as father of Indian archaeology. So remember, this Archaeological Survey of India, which was established in 1861, it was continued till this 1866, but it was abolished in 1866 and once again revived in this 1871. And when it was revived in this 1871, once again Alexander Cunningham became Director General, and he was continued till this 1885. So till date, who was this longest serving Director General? Alexander Cunningham was this longest serving Director General of ASI. The problem with this Alexander Cunningham was he was more focusing on writings. So we have these two types, writings as well as excavation. So in this writings as well as material remains, so he has given more importance to this written words. So basically, whatever the written records he has found, based on that he did this excavation. So basically, to guide his excavation, he has used this written words or written records. So he has given too much importance for this written records. Our next important Director General in this ASI was this John Marshall. Why he was important? He was the Director General from 1902 to 1928. Remember, the major problem with this Alexander Cunningham was he has given more importance to this written records than this excavation, but now the John Marshall has given this more important to this excavation. So Alexander Cunningham was not giving this, it was the limitation of this Alexander Cunningham. Now the John Marshall has given this importance to this excavation, but the problem is he was more interested in this horizontal excavation. He was more interested in this horizontal excavation. Remember, John Marshall was the one Director General who announced this discovery of Indus Valley Civilization in 1924. So now tell me whether John Marshall has given importance to stratigraphy or not. Tell me whether John Marshall has given this importance to stratigraphy or not. See, he has focused on this horizontal excavation, so he did not give the importance to this stratigraphy. Stratigraphy means studying these different layers. Studying these different layers means one has to do this vertical excavation, but John Marshall has focused on this horizontal excavation. That's why he did not give the importance to this vertical excavation or stratigraphy. But our next Director General, important Director General for us was R.E.M. Wheeler, and now he has given this importance for this stratigraphy. So he was this Director General from 1944 to 1948. Remember, first we have this Alexander Cunningham. What was this problem with this Alexander Cunningham? He has given excessive importance to this written records. Now this limitation was removed. Who removed this limitation? By John Marshall. So the John Marshall has given importance to this excavation. But the problem with this excavation is he has given importance to this horizontal excavation. So now who removed this limitation? Our next Director General, that is R.E.M. Wheeler. Now he has given importance to this vertical excavation. Vertical excavation, and more than all these Director General, for your exam, who was this most important? Amalnanda Ghosh. So he was the longest serving Director General post independence. In post independence means after this Indian independence, he was the longest serving Director General from 1953 to 68, but he is more known for, once we start this Indus Valley Civilization, we will see that this Indus Valley Civilization or Indus Valley culture consists of early Harappan culture, then mature Harappan culture, and then late Harappan culture. Earlier we considered that this early Harappan culture and mature Harappan culture are distinct, but Amalnanda Ghosh was the one who find the similarities between early Harappa culture and mature Harappa culture. So according to Amalnanda Ghosh, this mature Harappa culture was developed from this early Harappa culture. So remember, if you get this question, who said that there is similarity, or who found that similarity between early Harappa culture and mature Harappa culture, your answer should be Amalnanda Ghosh. If they have given this question, according to whom this mature Harappa culture developed from this early Harappa culture, so your answer should be Amalnanda Ghosh. So that's it for this lecture. So is the lecture useful for you? Are you getting this understanding, fair understanding? So all these today's topics are generic, but definitely these are going to help you while you read any book. So from today's lecture, we will start this Stone Age, Chalcolithic Age, IVC and all other important topic. So though this is a basic understanding lecture, or this what I would say, these are generic concepts, these are definitely important for your own understanding of this history. So today I will post my another WhatsApp number in this WhatsApp group. If you have any doubt, or if you make any notes, you can directly send me your doubts, notes or anything. So I will update my number on this WhatsApp group. So thank you and bye. We will meet once again tomorrow.